Hello, welcome back to Crushing Sounds. My name is Chris, and today I'm looking at the latest album from Logistical Nightmare titled As the Dog Returns. So my favourite albums of the year video is coming along nicely, but before we get to that, I'm making good on a promise I made to some old friends of the channel. The guys over at Logistical Nightmare released their second full-length album this September just gone, and I said I would take a look at it for the channel. Better late than never, as I always am. So here we are at last looking at As the Dog Returns. Just realised I have my headphones on throughout all of that, but I'm not re-recording that, so we're just going to carry on. So for those who haven't watched my previous videos regarding the band, Logistical Nightmare are a prog metal band from Arizona. You can check out my interview with the guys that I did on this channel a while back if you want to hear more about their inspiration and their sound and all that lovely stuff. Doing everything in-house themselves, including the production. They released their debut album only last year, and they asked me to check out their music for the channel. I was mighty impressed by what I had heard at the time. It wasn't without its teething issues, but I was very much surprised to hear such competent songwriting and guitar work, especially from such a young band. Not one to wait around. For only a year later, we have the follow-up album, so of course I was going to give this one a look as well. I will admit I was a tad unnerved by the speed at which this album came out after the first one. Not that short wait times between albums are an immediate red flag, but I was concerned that things might feel rushed. Have all these songs, have they been given the time needed to make them great? Have they had enough time in the oven, so to speak? As well as that, this album is an hour long, so there's a lot of material to get through here. So I thought this could go one of two ways, basically. Either we got an hour of lots of great ideas and great songs and amazing music, or an hour of stuff that doesn't feel like it's really had the time to be fully realised. But let's find out, let's dive right in. So I'll get the suspenseful answer out of the way right now. I should have known better than to even slightly doubt these guys' resolve, because As the Dog Returned has everything great about the first album and brings more to the table as well. It starts out really cool with Stasis, Wildflowers Part 1. Love the ambient intro, and all that delay on the guitar when it comes in is really, really good. Everyone loves delay, right? You know what else I love? That ambient intro is part of the opening song, not its own separate track. I'm not going to be as smug as to think that my point about that on the first album was taken by the band specifically, but I do appreciate that artistic choice to have it be part of the opening track. Even by the end of this first track, you can hear all the extra elements that the band have wanted to bring in between the first album and now. It just makes it sound so much bigger than before, and makes it more exciting to listen to as you're discovering all this new shit the first time you go through the album. I'll get my guitar bias out of the way now, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. The guitar parts in this album are as great as they have always been. Infectiously catchy riffs and impressive runs that cycle so expertly at times. It's almost like Animals as Leaders at times, but less head-fucky. That's not a slight against Animals as Leaders, by the way. They're amazing, but you know what I mean. And that chunky-ass riff that kicks in 2 minutes into Wildflowers Part 2 had me headbanging like you would not believe. Also, something I don't mention enough on this channel, the drums kick so much ass at this point as well. I never give drums enough attention. I just never, I don't normally notice drums when they're done really well, but I did notice them here, and they are awesome, as well as all the other instruments. Colour Screen Ideas is when I realised we were going to be dealing with something quite a bit different from the first album. It's a 6-minute instrumental where all the instruments at various points get to go completely fucking nuts. It's crushing and heavy riffing for the first half, doing more of what they do best. But from the second half, an organ-sounding key is like that really typical prog rock key organ sound thing joins in for the rest of the song, and it juggles back and forth with the guitar and the keys. This isn't the last time on the album where we get long sections without vocals, where the guitars, keys, and other instruments that I will mention later move with an almost improvisational tone. It's really impressive stuff, and it's almost mesmerizing to listen to. I'd be keen to know if any of these like long solo sections in any of these songs were improvised as they were recorded, or if they were written that way, because they sound really free-flowing and formed off the cuff in that really satisfying prog kind of way. Hang Our Heads, I talked about briefly on our Instagram page. It's their, by their own admission, Tool worship song. It starts off in similar territory to the songs that have come prior, but again, from the second half onwards is where you see exactly what they're talking about there. From about the 3-minute 40 mark, it becomes Tool in every sense. It's a Tool. This could be a Tool song from this point. The drums, the bass, the ambient guitar, it's all there. It sounds great though. I love me some Tool. These guys emulate the sound as well as any band I've ever heard try, so fair play to that. I won't talk about every track, we'll be here all day. Worthy is the Lamb is awesome. It's damn near as heavy as the band have ever gone. I love the driving riffing that's right at the start. It gives it a tremendous pace, and the vocals are the best on this song easily. They are much more aggressive and pushed much harder. There are even some subtle guttural vocals in there for good measure. That was a nice surprise. Yeah, this song is so cool. It demonstrates again how good this band is at allowing songs to move. It gets fast and heavy, but knows when to and how to drop back down to something a bit more somber and ambient. But when they throw the kitchen sink at it on this song, it is my favourite bit of the album. This song, it's so good. Sleep Furiously was another really cool one. It starts out with an almost Mastodon-sounding riff, and the second guitar part that plays after about a minute was great stuff. Then, of course, we drop down, and a horn instrument starts playing. I'm not a brass expert. Is that a horn? There's just another moment where I thought there's so much variety on this album and little details that are brought in across the whole thing. Love the clean guitar solo that follows it as well. Reminded me a bit of the slightly jazzier song from the first album that I loved so much. And the closing bit with the more choral-esque vocals and the strings gave me big modern Opeth vibes. So ticking all the right boxes there with your influences there. You know I love me some Opeth. From here to the end, the last 3 tracks are just great. This run of 3 is so good. I love Intervention as a bridge between Sleep Furiously and House of Mirrors. It strikes just the right tone of ambient as well as suspenseful. Perfectly sets up that catchy as hell riff that opens up House of Mirrors. You better believe my head was moving throughout most of this song after that riff. And the chorus is great. There's a great pace, and I really like that melody. It's probably my favourite vocal melody on the album. Wouldn't be a prog song though if we didn't have something on the longer side. As such, the closing track, What Fears We've Known, great title by the way, coming in at 9.5 minutes. And they make as much use of that time as they possibly can. If this whole album was a showcase in lots of different ideas, we get that concept shown specifically on this closing song. None of these 9 minutes are wasted. There's constantly new shit happening. It starts off ambient and brooding. We then get the frenetic riffing. A cheeky bit of brass comes back. The riff at the 2-minute 50 mark reminded me a lot of Wheel. Proggy keys come back again. And there's a fucking sax solo. All the yes. Next album, more sax, please. Or maybe not. Having it come up here made it all the more impactful when it finally did show up, as I didn't see it coming. Despite how much new shit just kept coming up across the album. Hearing a saxophone coming in near the end, it was like, nice. Yeah, this song's got everything, and it moves from one idea to the next so seamlessly. Really fitting closing song to the album. An album full of experimentation ends with a long, really fucking experimental song, so very, very smart placement there. So yeah, Logistical Nightmare, you boys have done it again. In only 1 year since the first album, they have taken that sound that they laid there and added so much more to it. I was not expecting, going into As the Dog Returns, so much to catch me off guard. New ideas, new elements, all brought together to make this a worthy follow-up, a more than worthy follow-up to the debut album. With all that's going on here, and given the length of the thing at 1 hour long, it can be quite a lot to get through on the first listen, but the variety of instruments especially really helped keeping it interesting throughout the whole thing, and subsequent listens the length was no bother whatsoever. The production is better than before, the vocals are more consistently solid, and the variety goes way beyond the first album and way beyond what I was expecting. Awesome work, guys. Keep doing what you're doing because you're getting better at this every single time.